Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 23rd of February of 2024. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And the most important updates are coming from Avdiivka direction. We have a lot of very interesting videos. First, let's talk about the northern direction. Today we received significant number of details for battle for Stepove. On this video, for example, we can see destroyed and abandoned Abrams type vehicle. This is clearing vehicle. The Ukrainians were using this type of weapon to clear the roads from mines, from Russian mines, to prepare another offensive road. Maybe the Ukrainians were planning to attack Stepove, to counterattack Stepove, and to force the Russians to fall back from the village. But we don't know what did happen, but obviously something wrong. And as you can see, this clearing equipment was destroyed and damaged either by FPV drone, or maybe this vehicle got on mine and was damaged as well. Anyway, it's very difficult to understand what happened and what the Ukrainians plan to do. According to this video, we can make few conclusions, and the most important one is that Stepove, according to that video, is under complete Russian control. So we will adjust the map before the next video, and we will show this territory under complete Russian control. Another video from the same area we got also from the 47th Mechanized Brigade about another Abrams tank. On this video we can see how the 47th Mechanized Brigade, for the first time since the beginning of the special military operation, used Abrams in combat. On this video we can see how Abrams reached the outskirts and the edge positions in the village by the name of Berdichi, and from those positions the Ukrainian tanks start bombing and attacking the Russian forces in Stepove, which is also another confirmation that Stepove is under complete Russian control. If we return back to map and try to understand how the Ukrainians were moving, the Abrams of Armed Forces of Ukraine started movement somewhere at Novoselovka Persha, very far from the line of combat contact. First the tank reached Semyonovka. From Semyonovka, this tank moved to Berdichi. In Berdichi, the tank turned to Sadova Street, and then the tank stopped somewhere on the edge of the village. And from these positions, the Ukrainians start bombing and attacking the Russian forces inside of Stepove. After the tank was out of the ammo, the Ukrainians returned back. So once again, this is the movement of the tank. Somewhere from here, the tank moved along the streets, along the roads, entered the first village, then Berdichi, then reached the outskirts of the village, and from these positions they start attacking the Russians. After the tank was out of ammo, the Ukrainians abandoned their positions and moved back somewhere to Novoselovka Persha, or even further in direction of Progress or Novogrodovka, or maybe in direction of Pokrovsk, something like this. Once again, these two videos confirms the Russian complete control over Stepove. Now we are moving to the south. The Russians during the previous 24 hours made few attempts to attack the Ukrainian positions in direction of Orlovka. The Russians were attacking the Ukrainians along the tree lines. The video was published by 3rd Azov Brigade. On this video we can see how the Russians using 2 personnel carriers reached the line, landed the infantry, and made few attempts to clear the trenches. The Ukrainians managed to discover the Russian movements and start bombing them and attacking with cluster rounds. After significant fire with cluster rounds, the Ukrainians started the clearing operation, and they captured significant number of Russians. So that attack failed from the Russian side. Another attack the Russians made on the line between Avdiivka and the village by the name of Severnaya. Yesterday we have already discussed the situation in the village, and according to some mappers and Russian sources, the village Severnaya was captured by the Russians. Today we got more details from different mappers. Some mappers are saying that the Russians control just a part of the village. Some pro-Russian sources says that the Russians established complete control over the village. Other sources report about partial control of the village. But the Ukrainian sources somewhere at 5 p.m. of the local time reported that the Ukrainians left and abandoned the village completely and fell back in direction of Toninka. The Ukrainians during the previous 24 hours tried to hold this foothold, the western part of the village, as long as possible, and the main reason of clashes in this part of the village was to give some time to the Ukrainian forces that were located among the tree lines between Severnaya, Toninka, Vadiana and Peske some time to regroup and to evacuate. And after the process ended, after the main forces from the tree lines abandoned their positions to the north, the Ukrainians left their positions from Severnaya as well. So this is the situation. Obviously within the next few days we're going to receive more updates about these 3 lines, and obviously these 3 lines will be captured by the Russians, and then the battle for Toninka will start, and the Ukrainians obviously are not going to hold this village very long as well. So this is the situation on Avdiivka direction. Furthermore, once again, I'll remind you that the Russians are pushing in direction of Ukraine positions that are located in the lowlands, and the Russians are attacking from the hills. So there are a lot of benefits for further Russian offensive. Now we are moving to the south in direction of Krasnogorovka. We continue receiving significant number of updates from the village. According to some Russian sources, the Russians managed to enter the first streets of the city. And if you remember, 3 days ago, the same report we received from Rybar. He reported 3 days ago that the Russians entered the first streets. Later, to be more precise, yesterday we got update that the Russians managed to establish control over just the 3 lines and the first 3 line in front of the city. And maybe today the Russians made the first attempt to attack, yet we haven't received any geolocated confirmation of any of those reports, of any of those updates. But the only thing we got is that the Russians start using the same tactics in Avdiivka as they used to use the same tactics in Krasnogorovka as they used to use in Avdiivka. And I'm talking about significant number of FABs that were launched against the city. The Russians are saying that they start bombing this town with FAB 1500. A lot of FABs were dropped on the city, and that caused significant number of damage. The Russians are saying that during the day the Ukrainians were trying to hide from FABs, but the Russians are saying that very likely the upcoming night, so this night of the local time, the Ukrainians will abandon their positions and they will start retreating from Krasnogorovka. And as improvements, the Russians are showing this video. On this video we can see the central part of Krasnogorovka that was under fire of FAB 1500. Obviously nothing could survive in the center of this strike, and that was not the only strike during the previous 24 hours. So we are waiting more updates from the territory. Furthermore, the Russians published few videos from Georgievka direction, few